Scoville.
I quite enjoy coming down here with these lads, you know.
He's joined by another old friend and colleague, driver Bill Rawls.
You know, bloody S&T, you know, it's put a little bit different other railways, Bill, wasn't it? It's sort of like you knew everybody, wasn't it, you know, and the thing where somebody say, how's your beans growing? Oh, I don't know, they ain't doing all good this year. Well, I don't know, mine's doing all right, and I offer sprout plants. I'll bring on a few, you know. Well, you yourself, you like yourself, wouldn't it? You know?
Yeah. I used to take eggs myself.
Come on, all their little sidelines, you know, sort of keep the wheels turning, you know. Always keep the signalman happy.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, always keep saying, keep the kettle boiling. Yeah, keep the kettle boiling everywhere, you know. Keep the kettle boiling.
You always seem to always have a good mate, didn't you?
I suppose we look back at a happy time more than others, but looking back over the years, I suppose it was a very happy time all along. You knew everybody. You knew exactly what each one was going to do. You knew the way they were going to work, how they were going to do the job.
And that was the difference in our railway and the other railways, wasn't it?
You know, the more we look around, the more you actually find that the old days, Rod. This is the base of the footbridge.
Base of the footbridge used to be here, used to go right up over the top.
At Evercreech, Rod Scoville and rail enthusiast Mike Arlett set out to retrace the line to Burnham-on-Sea.
The old signal post used to be there. Seeing Evercreech as it is today, I sometimes think to myself, did it really happen? You begin to wonder, was it all a dream? Was there ever a railway there? I think, in general, right up to the closure of the line, the real feeling of most of the men I knew and the people who worked on the line, that it wasn't going to happen. It had been there since they could remember, their fathers and grandfathers can remember, and it just wasn't going to happen. Some miracle was going to be pulled out of the hat that the line would always be there. But March 1966, the line really did close, and it was the end of an era and the end of a way of life.
Its last days were recorded by the TV cameras, still in black and white in 1966, but it was all happening in colour. Thanks to a few enthusiasts who used colour film, it's still possible to see the line as it really was. In the early 60s, Ivo Peters of Bath decided to record the line he loved before it was too late. His film survives as a vivid reminder of the steam age, a generation after the last train passed this way. When steam was king, even the motorist gave way to its stately progress through the countryside.
Oh yes, the level crossing used to cause some consternation to the traffic, especially as the years went by and traffic built up. It was nothing for the motorists to get very irate about having to wait so long. And of course in those days, rail traffic seemed to take much more of a precedent over road traffic than it does today.
And as we say goodbye to the station master, please notice that on expenses I'm travelling first.
Back in 1963, John Betchamin had the answer to traffic jams.
Forget motor cars. Get rid of anxiety. And here, to the rhythm of the Somerset and Dorset joint railway, dream again that ambitious Victorian dream which caused this long railway still to be running through deepest, quietest, flattest, remotest, least spoiled Somerset.
Before Dr. Beeching swept it all away, the branch line to Burnham was a friendly railway run by friendly railwaymen, like signalman Frank Jones and driver Ronald Andrews.
Oh, it was marvellous.
100%.
Marvellous. That's what I noticed about it first of all, you know. Having been at Bristol, where drivers more or less sailed through, you know, and you didn't know them from anyone else. We had a wonderful spirit.
We did.
And it carried on right until I left.
Yes.
I started on the railway in 1932 at Bristol. My father was an express driver on the LMS at Bristol, and my brother was a fireman, and it seemed logical to me to follow in their footsteps. But When I got off the train at Basin Bridge, I thought to myself, where have I come to? Just one platform and a few cows in the field, you know.
That's right.
But Charlie came along and he took hold of my bag and he said, come on, my son, you'll be all right. After I'd been there a few weeks, all the drivers spoke to you and knew their name, you know.
That's true.
And you get off and have a yarn with them. And it was marvellous. The guards and all, they were, it was a fraternal sort of a atmosphere, wasn't it?
Very happy. I wish, tell you the truth, I'd like to go up there again now. Yeah, I should love to.
For drivers like Ronald Andrews, passenger safety was all important. It involved constant vigilance by the extended family of S&D staff, people like the level crossing keepers in their isolated cottages, a vital part of the railway service that went unnoticed by the travelling public, a fleeting glimpse from the carriage window. And now just one more forgotten statistic in Dr. Beeching's report.
Very remote here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's surprising really how people used to live out in these remote places, but they had all their little occupations and they used to pass the time when the trains weren't about.
These gates were, what, they open and close by hand rather than by mechanism, were they?
They were open and closed by hand, and there was a lady crossing keeper here and she used to operate the gates.
How were they operated?
Rod Scoville and Mike Arlett made their way to the lonely cottage at Cockmill Crossing.
This used to be the signal frame. And
oh, I see. What, out in the open?
she used to do that in between catching rabbits and cutting a few bean sticks and pea sticks. If you didn't mind the isolation, it could have been a very pleasant way of life. Always to go by, touch a whistle, and it's a friendly wave from the crossing keeper. The crossing people were a very, very hardy and a very, very cheerful lot. Seldom you ever heard them complain.
West Pennard Station, built of the local limestone.
Well, I suppose this is the final irony, isn't it? Road really has taken over.
Yes, Ted. Yeah, that's it.
But the station itself, all it needs is a lick of paint and it could be, you know, a station again, but I don't think you'll ever see another train.
One of the stranger daily rituals to be seen on the branch involved the train crew handling undersized milk churns full of drinking water. Other refreshments could also be found if you knew where to look.
There was a lot of cider made at West Pennard. The platform used to be loaded with barrels of cider going all over the place. And of course, while they was loading up the cider, of course, there was always a jar full for the for the driver and fireman and the guard.
Yeah.
And it was good cider.
The water, however, was for the crossing keepers and their families, most of whom had no main supply. The daily delivery on the morning goods train was still a part of life on the branch, even in the swinging 60s of the Beatles and the miniskirt. And Ivo Peters was able to film scenes that hadn't changed in 100 years.
The cans used to go on the front of the engine. Of course, we weren't doing any great speed. And we had to stop at the crossing. And the crossing keeper used to come out, take off the full water cans and put the empty ones on, which went on to the next station down to be refilled for the next trip.
People used to look forward to it, and we used to take papers, and sometimes people asked us to take their groceries along. They was looking forward. It was a lifeline. There was always a cup of tea. And even the people that wanted to do a shopping in Highbridge, they used to come in on the engine and go to Bridgewater, come to Highbridge and do the shopping. That was the only way they could do it. There's no other way. There was no other way at all.
Oh, by the way, there's Glastonbury Tor, and how nice to see it without a foreground of villas and petrol stations.
Coming into Glastonbury, obviously the landmark was the Tor, which is on the left-hand side of the track going towards Glastonbury. And it's a very quite impressive station for a branch line. and with the overbridge, and of course the 3 platforms, and now it's just a flat piece of land.